Well, joining us now is the Vice President for Government Affairs at the Mackinac Center for Public Policy, David Guenthner. Welcome to Victory News.
Thank you for having me.
David, thank you. You just heard how a bipartisan group of congressmen have offered the Cost Estimates Improvement Act to require government spending to include the cost of interest in paying off the debt. You think this could slow the spending, maybe curb the national debt a little bit?
Well, it can't hurt to have another data point in the conversation about out-of-control federal spending, but the core of the debt problem is that too many federal officials aren't serious about our national finances. Congress hasn't passed a federal budget since 2019, and they've chosen to keep spending on autopilot through continuing resolutions. Before DOGE, the last serious effort to examine federal programs was the Grace Commission more than 40 years ago. That's why the left is so freaked out about the DOGE project. They are terrified about the rot, waste, and fraud that a thorough AI-assisted inquiry of federal spending and agency practices is going to drag into the daylight.
That's a good point. Now I want to dig into this article you wrote this week in the Federalist. It's entitled "Michigan's Next Elections Could Determine the Direction of National Politics." Why do you believe Michigan is the most important state politically headed into the 2026 midterms?
If you followed presidential elections, most of your viewers know that Michigan is one of 7 competitive states in those races, and one of 3 of those that's legitimately up for grabs every time. But on the state level, the pendulum of Michigan between left and right swings on an 8-year historic interval, and 2026 is the year when the state should begin its swing back to the right. Our last 2 Senate elections have been dedicated or decided by less than 2 points when there were incumbents on the ballot. Last week, Senator Gary Peters announced he wasn't running again. That's going to be an open seat. 3 of our 13 congressional seats are competitive between the parties. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, Attorney General Dana Nessel are all termed out of their offices, so those seats are going to be open. Every seat in our state Senate and state House is going to be on the ballot, and both of those chambers could go either way. Right now, you have a 1-seat margin in the state Senate, a slightly different Republican majority in the House that Republicans just got back in November. There will also be an automatic vote on whether to call a convention to rewrite our state constitution. Plus, there could be several voter initiatives on changes to Michigan election law and union-backed referenda on our state's minimum wage and paid sick leave laws. I would challenge anyone to point out another state in the country next year where more will be on the line and the range of potential outcomes wider than Michigan.
That's amazing. Let's dig into a little bit of what you just said. The Michigan legislature is narrowly split between Democrats and Republicans. Your governor, Gretchen Whitmer, is well-known liberal. But you say that conservatives now have a chance to become, I'm going to quote you, become the Florida of the North. What will it take for that to happen?
If you look at what the Democrats did when they had all the levers of state government in 2023 and 24, they passed massive giveaways to the unions, repealed our state's right to work law, gutted education accountability, and adopted a net zero energy policy to make our energy grid weather dependent. All of those passed with unified Republican opposition. If Republicans are able to win the governor's office and legislature next year, all of those harmful choices can be undone quickly. It's important to use Florida for context because in the last 3 years, we have lost 30,000 residents to Florida because they have no personal income tax, greater respect for parental rights, predictable business climate. Florida is the blueprint to make Michigan a state that focuses on business fundamentals, make us broadly attractive for businesses, workers, and families to want to live.
That'll change the North. It'll change America. Tell us quickly about the Mackinac Center for Public Policy and its mission.
Mackinac Center for Public Policy, we are a nonprofit research and education institute that advances the principles of free markets and limited government. Through our research and education programs, we challenge government overreach and advocate for free market approaches to public policy that free people to reach their potential and their dreams.
All right, David, thank you so much. Fascinating. All eyes on Michigan. You heard it here first. Be sure to learn more about David and the Mackinac Center for Public Policy by visiting mackinac.org or on X at Mackinac Center. David, thank you so much for joining us today on Victory Days.
Appreciate the time.